Everybody, this is Vegereness, and welcome to a special YouTube video that we're doing today. And it's something that I don't do too often. I rarely go through so many chess games in one video. But in terms of the occasion, I think it's fair to say that I want to do something special. For some of you may know, there's a chess streamer who I like to call him a chess streamer, but he's really a League of Legends player who goes by the name Tyler1. And Tyler1 on March the 18th, 2024, hit 1705 ELO, which has basically rocked the whole chess community in a very positive way. Tyler1 has been known for his League of Legends gameplay and his antics and personality, and very big personality, and not to mention his work ethic and his abilities, and again, just being a very big streamer for a long time. I used to play League of Legends back at Season 2, and I was actually one of the first Tyler1 viewers back in 7 years ago when he first started, when he was still in college doing his, I think it was computer programming degree, or etc. And I remember him making that transition to be a streamer, and he was being banned temporarily from Riot Games for streaming for very high level toxicity, and I mean like high level. But he's reformed, and he's been a constant personality, great entertainer. Does a lot of cool concepts and videos now. Like there's like some workout videos and like competitions and stuff. Anyways, check him out. He's amazing. But yeah, I've always followed him, a little bit less over time as I got older. But yeah, I was there 7 years ago, and I never thought in a million years Tyler1 would play chess. Not even play chess, but be obsessed with it, try and get better, just grinding out chess games nonstop. So today, I wanted to honor his progress in chess. That so few don't really get to the level that he's gotten by going through his journey on chess.com and going through his first game he's ever played, the lowest rating he's ever had on Rapid, and just seeing the progress through all the different ELOs. And then we're going to analyze each game and just kind of get an idea where Tyler1's thought process was in some of the games, and see how his development is, all from his lowest ELO to his highest. And so this is going to be a big video. I have a lot of games I've pulled. It took me a long time to go through his whole history. He's played about like 4,500 chess games that are rapid alone. Unbelievable. And I haven't even included the bullet games or the puzzles he's done. But we're going to focus specifically on rapid, because that's one of the most common timers in the world to play. It's a good way of showing growth in chess from an online perspective. And hopefully some of the tips that I can see, and who Tyler1 who's implemented his chess game, maybe can rub off on your game, and man, it could just encourage you to grind like he has and get better. So without further ado, we're going to start the first timeline. So we're starting off with the very first game he's ever played on chess.com. He created his account on July the 7th, 2023, and he had a 655 ELO. And he was with the black pieces played against Squeeze Lee. So opponent opened up with e4. Oh, I had the review on. Let me get rid of that. That's fine. I'll just keep it for this game. So e4, e5, very standard. d4 was played. You don't see that too often in high level play, but very common around this rating. Tyler1 takes it. Knight f3, completely fine move here. f6, definitely questionable. Again, this is his very first game of chess. I don't know if he's played chess in the past, but definitely it's his first game on chess.com. So, again, my goal is not to be super critical of anything. It's just I want to see his progress. And, of course I'm going to identify moves that should happen and moves that should happen, because we want to get better in chess. So, again, you don't want to play f6 here. There's a lot more developing moves. See that nice arrow that points to bishop f8? Get the bishop out. You can even protect a pawn, although it doesn't really matter. There's two pieces attacking it. get your pieces out. One of the 5 principles in developing openings is get your pieces out as soon as possible. Knight xd4 was taken. Now playing bishop c5, but that's not really the best move because there's an actual tactic here. The queen could go to h5, attack the king and the bishop. That's why this is a blunder. White misses it. It goes for knight f5. Tyler1 plays g6. Again, makes sense. Try to knock that knight off that very good outpost on f5. White plays a very dubious knight g7. Doesn't really work because as soon as you move the king over, there's actually no squares for the knight to escape. And as a result, you are just going to lose a knight. However, it was king f7 that was played. That's a bit of a problem because now you're allowing a free check, which also checks the king and threatens the bishop, so it's a fork. White misses this, plays bishop c4. Black takes the pawn, or takes the knight, so good job, Tyler. That was a great move. And now queen d5 is played. So when you see a bishop and a queen like this is a good warning sign. Take a look at where it can go. Look at every single step where that queen can go. And if you see a vulnerability, plug it. So e6 doesn't make sense. Taking it on g8 doesn't make sense because there's a rook and a queen defending. But going here, there's a vulnerability. If this queen lands on f7, the king can't take it because the bishop protects, and the king can't escape either to f8 or h6 because there's a piece covering, whether it's the queen or in this case the lawn bishop on c1. So this is one of the few areas where you need to look for anything that can threaten your king this way. Bishop b4, definitely a blunder, but still not completely over. Black still has an extra move and hopefully can defend a check. c3 was a good move by his opponent. Now, if even Tyler1 plays the best move, whether it's queen e8 or queen f8 or queen e7, he's still going to lose a bishop. Unfortunately, he backs off his bishop. He doesn't see the threat, and checkmate is delivered. So again, this is his very first game. Obviously, there's a lot of mistakes. His opponent made some mistakes too, but his opponent did find a checkmate. So this is the first game that Tyler1 has played on chess.com. So we started off on July 7th, and then from July 7th to July 20th, he lost a lot of ELO in Rapid. And he went all the way down to 198. Now, if I missed a lower rated ELO game for Rapid, then I apologize. But this is the game I found that he was at his lowest. And I think there were some games later on where he hit 198 again after he was like fluctuating between late hundreds and early 200s. But I believe this is the first game he has played in hitting his lowest rating on chess.com. And it was done on July 20th, 2023. So let's take a look at how he plays. With the white pieces, his opponent goes e4. Tyler goes e6, knight c3, knight f6. Again, this is all pretty standard. I like this move. I like the e6 controlling d5 square, f5 square. Getting a knight out, that's great. Attacking the pawn, that's great. Controlling other aspects of the center like d5, great. Nothing wrong here. White plays b3. A little bit weird. You usually don't see that too often. I don't even know what this particular opening is. I know this is some sort of possible French defense. And g5. So g5 doesn't really do much here. Maybe it covers f4 and h4, but otherwise it's just leaving a pawn vulnerable for white to potentially go after. Better moves would have been going, say, d5, which is very standard, and controlling a lot of squares in the center, or even maybe even c6, or even bishop b4. Again, whatever it takes to get the pieces out and go for king safety, that's what you want to do at these type of ratings. So g5 was played by Tyler. G3 was played by his opponent. Again, this kind of makes sense. He wants to play, or she, doesn't matter, wants to play fianchetto bishops. Very slow, very solid. Bishop h6 was played by Tyler. Again, it is technically a developing move, but it's not doing the right thing. It's actually limiting the bishop's scope further, because if the bishop was at g7, now it's giving some real good support because it's protecting the knight, and when this knight moves off, it's going to be attacking this knight on c3, maybe even attacking the rook on a1 in the future. Putting the bishop at a6 or h6, it just lowers its scope to like even a pawn level, where a pawn is just better being at h6 than a bishop. So want to definitely play bishop g7. Otherwise, it's still a developing move. It's still not the worst move played here by far. I can think of worse moves. So again, at least there is some sort of development. White plays d3, protecting the pawn on e4, and setting up for the bishop on c1 to target the g5 pawn. And now g4 has been played. So g4 would have not been a bad move for a couple of reasons. One, that it's covering f3 and h3, so it's preventing this knight from developing to its natural squares. Also, the knight on f6 is covering g4, so the pawn is safe. However, something you have to watch out for, especially if you're a beginner chess player, is when you make a move, you want to try and look around and see, as the board state change, is there anything I'm leaving vulnerable? In this case, this was a vulnerable move because Tyler moved the pawn to g4. Bishop on c1 was aiming at h6, and he didn't see this, and now there's a possibility that this bishop can be taken. Now, is it taken? We'll see. So, not taken. Bishop actually goes to e3 for his opponent. This gives Tyler a chance to either take the bishop or go back. Tyler takes the bishop. I think he saw his mistake and reacted very well. I don't mind the take whatsoever. I think it's completely fine here. Pawn takes bishop. Knight c6. Again, very excellent. Developing a piece to center. Again, I'm really hoping this d-pawn moves. Maybe it goes to d5 or even d6 is not a bad idea. e5. Normally, this would be okay to try and poke the knight. Unfortunately, white didn't realize this pawn is actually not being defended by anything. So, black can take this pawn. But Tyler doesn't take it. Instead, he plays knight h5. Not sure what this is. I think it's actually quite a big blunder because now the queen can take the pawn on g4 that the knight on f6 was defending earlier. Instead, a positional move has been played, knight e4. Again, these are nice moves if you're targeting outpost squares. Can't go to d6 though because there's a pawn covering from c7, and you can't really go to f6 because there's a knight covering on h5 to f6. So still not a great move for white. I think there's other moves like bishop g2 or just simply taking the pawn on g4. That's a big miss. Tyler now finally takes the pawn on e5. Very good. And d4 has been played. Not a bad move from white whatsoever. Okay, so this is interesting. So we have d5. Interesting timing how d5 comes out now. And now there's a bit of scenarios because white can easily take this knight on e5. But if that's the case, black will then take on e4. So who wins this trade? Well, I think it's going to be white because white's very next move, while attempting to take the queen on d8 and prevent black from castling either direction, taking the pawn on g4 is still too strong because you get a free pawn, you put pressure on the knight, you got to move the knight has to move backwards, most likely to f6. Yes, you get to move your queen again, but at least you've gotten that pawn on g4. You don't want that pawn to stay on g4 and allow black to have an outpost potentially on f3. That would be a bit dangerous. So white elects to take the knight. And unfortunately, Tyler1 castles. And again, you don't want to castle here, especially when you're handing pieces. Again, I'm sure over time you'll see his vision increase dramatically to find these tactics and pieces. But again, this is his lowest ELO game. So again, we don't want to be too critical, but we still want to spot moves that could be improved on for all of our benefits. So white recognizes the knight is in danger, retreats it back to f2. Again, completely fine square. And this is where Tyler1 resigns. Now, is this a premature resignation? I think so. The reason why I explain this is because at this rating, anything can happen. You could be down one or two pieces, but if you try and stay active, keep your king safe, get your queens and bishops out, and your pawn structures are stable, you never know. Your opponent can make a miss just like he did earlier, and then the whole game could change. So definitely in this rating, anywhere in the 100s, 500s, even up to 1000s, I would never resign ever, unless you have no more pieces to fight with. You never know what the ability of your opponent can or can't do. So keep fighting on. In this case, it was a resignation, understandable, but in this rating, not necessarily. So from July 20th, Tyler1 kept playing chess and was trying to get up to past 200 ELO, which he did successfully. But it took him quite a few games. He was playing pretty much every day. I was checking on his profile. We were heading into August. He didn't hit 300 ELO. And then suddenly, in one day, on August the 5th, 2023, he had a 10-game winning streak. His winning streak ended with him hitting 301 ELO on this very game. Let's take a look at this game. So, Tyler1 has the black pieces. His opponent has the white. White plays e4. So now we're seeing c6. I'm curious. Did Tyler started reading books or started looking at openings? And something I want to mention. I forgot to say this in the first video. Notice the difference between the first game. Well, actually, no. It's actually here as well. So when I first started the game, I didn't actually see flare. But look at this. Oh, that's what makes sense. Okay. So Tyler1 had a flare, but otherwise his account was an irregular account. When he went down to 198 ELO, he became a diamond member. So on chess.com, diamond membership gives you a lot of different access to many different things. Videos, puzzles, like training, all sorts of analysis, insights. Again, you can check out chess.com, you can read all the details, but that just tells me that if you're playing chess and you're paying a certain amount of money for your yearly membership, you're going to be somewhat dedicated to it in some way. So maybe this is where he was starting reading resources, because he's never played c6 before. Question is he going to play d5? We don't know yet. But just off the top of my head, already I can tell he's a dedicated. And if you know him as a streamer, this guy just goes like 15, 20 games a day, like in League, nonstop, that most human beings can't possibly do. So e4, c6, white plays d4, and he plays the Caro-Kann. Interesting. So e5, this is the advanced variation. He plays knight d7. A little bit different, but I wonder if he's just experimenting with his opening. White plays knight c3. Black plays f6. White plays h5. So there's only one defense, which is g6. And there's a resignation by white. I have no idea why white resigned here. White's completely fine. White can just go back to f3, or it could go back to 2, or go back to h4. All of these are completely fine. Maybe they were trying to do this checkmate style, and when they realize they failed, and they think, oh wait, the opponent must be better than me, and they just got out of there. Well, in either case, congrats to a win is a win. So Tyler hits 300 ELO for the first time. So on the very next day, he goes to 403 ELO on August 6, 2023. On August 7th, he hits 506 ELO. He's just playing like 15, 20 games. I checked it all on his profile. He's just playing. He's winning most of his games. He's getting up to those high ELOs. And then on August 8th, within 3 days, he increased up to 300 ELO and hit 600 ELO on this game. Amazing stuff. So let's see how Tyler1 is at 600 yellow. So again, he's playing the black pieces against white. White starts off with e4. And okay, we have an e6 move, so maybe we might see the legendary French defense. I play this quite often, both blitz, bullet, and tournament games. White plays knight c3 and d6. Okay, so e6 and d6, it's still pretty solid. Problem is, it doesn't allow you to develop your bishops too much, but e6 is great because it fends off all these possible bishop c4, queen h5, or queen f3 type scholars mates move, checkmates. So perhaps he's been experiencing this all throughout this chess games. Actually, there's probably no doubt in my mind he's been going through it. And he just plays this to just completely fend off against these really early, quick type of checkmates white tries to do. So after d4, knight e7. Okay, interesting. Bishop c4, knight d7. Okay, so he's probably playing some sort of like hedgehog. Maybe he starts playing g7 or b7, or sorry, g6 or b6 to start fianchettoing these bishops. That'd be kind of cool. Knight f3. White's playing completely fine opening. And we got the knight b6 move, so now we got the temple move. Very nice from Tyler1. We're having that bishop retreat. Bishop b3 is retreated. That's, to me, makes a lot of sense. So far, everything looks good here. Bishop d7, a good developing move. Bishop e3, good developing move, and knight to g6. Now, normally in high-level play, when we see knight g6, white loves to play these h4, h5 lines, but again, that's just an idea. Otherwise, black wants just to develop the bishop on e7, maybe even go to e6 one day and just castle kingside and then start the rolling attack with like c5. So d5 is played. I don't mind this for both sides. Black, you probably don't want to take. You just let it take and take with the bishop, and then if they want to get rid of their good bishop for the pure bishop, that's completely fine. I don't see any real weaknesses as long as you can still stick to the plan, play bishop e7 and castle. If you take here, it's not really a bad issue either. Most likely the knight's coming into play, and now there's going to be less tension in the center. Oh, but black plays e5. I actually kind of like this, because now this bishop is not really doing too much. And black has an option later of playing c6 and chipping away at the center. This is nice. Also, because of e5, it's created an outpost on f4 that knight on g6 might sneak in one day. That's not a bad idea to get rid of that strong bishop with your knight. Very good move. This is very different than the other yellows. So bishop trades off with knight on b6, completely fine. Tyler1's correct in taking with the a-pawn, again, opening up the rook for free. Nothing wrong with that. a4's been played. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's to set up an outpost for b5. Could be. But I like bishop e7. So again, big difference in this game compared to other few games we've been looking at. 600, Tyler1 is definitely learning concepts in chess. For sure. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. White castles, black plays knight h4. Again, I like this. I like this aggression. Maybe you want to play bishop g4 first, then knight h4, but the timings are fine. Notice, too, the time, white is up down to 6 minutes and 56 seconds. Tyler1's just busting these moves out pretty quickly. Like, this is fast. Like, you really don't want to play too fast because you don't want to miss a move and now you have to waste 2-3 minutes trying to fix it. If you can fix the move, maybe if it's a blunder, then it's too late. But usually we try and play quickly in the early game. That way in the middle game we can kind of time manage our time, save our time for the big moves, the critical moves that we really need to dump some minutes and calculate all the best moves in. So white plays, knight takes the knight, black takes on a4 with the bishop, and we got knight e2. Again, a little bit more of a defensive move, completely fine with white's response here. And now b5. So, Again, I'm not sure if Tyler knows what he's doing in this particular sense. Maybe he's watching a YouTube video, maybe he's starting to learn, but he's tacking on both flanks. So when the knight on c3 moves to e2, that means the knight on c3 is not covering b5 anymore. It's not providing that queenside coverage. Black is actually now attacking the queen side. So it's kind of like switching back and forth. And in chess, it's actually very common to do that. Sometimes if you see your opponent has all their resources on one side, flip the script, go all completely on your side and send everything there. And chances are your opponent might be too slow to respond to your attack, and that's where you can gain some advantage. Could be pawns, could be pieces, could be a lovely queen, or, that king. Whatever it takes to win. So pawn takes, bishop takes on b5, completely fine. I am enjoying this position. Tyler1's playing this very, very well. c4, good move by white. Again, you do not want to allow that pressure in place, and c4 really does defend upon d5. The only problem is this bishop on b3, it's kind of acting like a pawn. It's not doing too much. Maybe when black retreats, you can play bishop a4, get rid of this bishop, and then your knight can start trying to enjoy all these comfortable spots like the outpost on f5. Yeah, food for thought. Bishop a6. Actually, you know what? Again, I don't mind this too much because if you played bishop d7, white can play bishop a4 and try and force a bishop trade. This doesn't force a bishop trade, but it's now keeping an active bishop attacking the c-pawn. Very smart. I really like this. Bishop a4 still happens. Again, king's going to go to f8 most of the time, or you can block with the c-pawn. This is not the best move because after trades, bishop, now you got a rook exchange happening with a bishop. Don't want to do that. In this case, it actually did happen. So, unfortunately, it happened. King goes to e7. Ooh, that I don't like. Again, you don't want to move your king closer to the center, especially when the knight is in 2-move distance to cause some problems. It's just better to move your king here. You can always find ways to activate your rook like h5, rook h6, and then g6 or f6. But keep your king as number one when it comes to safety. Don't try and push it forward. Tyler plays king e7, rook takes, bishop takes rook, and a queen takes. And now there's a problem with this bishop. Again, queen a4 is looking amazing here if white can find this. And then black has to respond with bishop to b7, and then all the minor pieces might be going off. Well, at least the queen's will, and now black is going to have to fight for a draw because white has more pawns and the better rooks in the endgame, having 2. But queen a4 wasn't played. Queen d3 was played. Again, a very defensive move. And defensive is not exactly wrong, but queen a4 would have been better because going after a piece, good idea. And even if you go here and black takes the pawn, throwing the knight, taking the bishop is a good thing because now you can go after the enemy king on e7, who's quite exposed to many different checks. So again, favor is white here. Tyler1 plays queen to b7. Again, protecting the bishop and eyeing this pawn on b2 for a possible take. Rook f b1 makes a lot of sense. Again, the time is still pretty high for white, so black can't really try and flag white at this moment. White has too much time to still play with. Tyler1 still has to keep fighting on. Rook d8, protected pawn on d6, completely fine. Knight c3, positioning the knight. Now knight d5 is looking devastating. Knight b5 is devastating. Knight a4 is less devastating. The knight d5 looks really good. G6, I actually don't mind this move too much because black can kind of go here from f8 to g7 and try and keep itself safe. G6 also protects the f5 square from being used as a outpost. And again, your dark squares are pretty much covered by the bishop on h4, so this is not too bad. Knight does come in on d5. Ooh, king e6 happens, and this is a very scary move. This is actually a complete blunder. Reason being is that all white has to do now is play queen h3. and the king can't move anywhere. So the only forced move is this move, pawn to f5. But you don't do anything. You don't even have to take with a pawn. All you have to do is just capture the free piece. So it looks like that's what happened. White did find queen h3. f5 happened, but white decided just to take the pawn. Black takes back, and now piece is gone. Now Tyler1 is even further trouble. Again, 3 against 4 pieces. This is almost hopeless. But let's keep going. Rook to f8 happens. Again, trying to be a wall whenever the queen starts checking more and more. That makes a lot of sense. Queen h6 is played. Rook f6 is played. This is the worst move because I think he forgot that the knight is covering the rook. So all the queen has to do is take it. White does take, but unfortunately with the knight. Bishop takes the pawn on c4. Again, very little black can do here. Might as well just take a free pawn. Discover check with knight on e4. The queen actually checking up from h6. King to d5. Again, it doesn't necessarily, like, you can go backwards here, but the problem is if you go backwards, queen's going to take on h7, and then queen's going to move, and the queen's going to be coming off the board, and you don't want to do that when you're worse. If you're worse, trade pawns. If you're better, trade pieces. Remember that formula. Black takes on d6. White takes on d6. Black has only option is take on e4 with the king. Rook checks. King f4. Queen takes on e5 check. King still running around. f4. King still running around. Knight or bishop rook to rook a to c1. Somehow Tyler's still in this. I'm not sure how. We're 34 moves in. His opponent has literally a rook and another rook to assist, but the game is still not done. b3 is played. Tyler1 takes the pawn. Queen to d6. King h5. Rook to b1. Queen to d3. Oh, you don't want to offer queen trades. That's the worst thing you can do in this position. Rook b to d1. Again, I'm not sure what white's doing. Just take the queen, simplify the position, make this easier. Black plays queen c3. Again, avoiding the trades. G4 comes. G4 is so unnecessary, especially when there's a black and a bishop and a queen nearby. Don't expose your king to unnecessary risk. Black king takes on g4. Rook again goes to c1. Tyler1 avoids it by going to queen to b3. Here comes the rook, chases again on b1. Queen chases on c, goes to c3 to avoid it. White now plays queen d1, threatening the king. King h4 is played. And oh my god. White had 1 minute and 39 seconds from move 36. Checkmate the king, the enemy king, on king h5 with barely anywhere to go. But he actually flags on time. And Tyler1, because of this win, hits 600 ELO. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And you know what? Kudos. If you can't win a checkmate, trade off the pieces. Make it simpler. But White had all the chances. Black kept surviving, and you lose on time. Fair game. So from August 8th to August 17th, Tyler1 went to 700 ELO. So another good amount of 9 games. And then from August 17th to August 27th, so another 10 more days of playing Rapid on chess.com, he managed to hit 800 ELO. And he went up against the Drunk Potato player. So let's see how this went. Tyler now has the white pieces playing e4. D5 is played, so we're going to probably see a Scandinavian or center counter. Bishop d3. Wow. I've never seen this in a long time to defend against e4 pawn. This is white. This blows my mind away. Oh, man. I can't wait to see what move, how Tyler1's game has progressed now at the 800 yellow level. Pawn takes, bishop takes, Knight f6, very standard. Queen e2, very standard as well. Kind of want to save that bishop, but you know what? I don't mind this. Queen to g4. f3, very standard. And knight to h5. Uh-oh. Bishop is hanging. And, oh, so because of the quick move within 8 seconds, the knight suddenly goes to h5, and black's about to lose a piece. Drunk potato player resigns. Again, not necessarily following the advice, although this is even, white. Like, there's so many ways white's going to win this game just by this position alone. Maybe an early resignation did save all the pain, but don't want to resign too early. However, a win is a win, as my good friend John would say. Shout out to him. So, Big Tonka T, aka Tyler1, has won this game and is now 808 ELO low. Very exciting stuff. So, from August 27th, 2023 to August 30th, he went up to 900 ELO. And it took, from August 30th, quite a while to hit 1,000 ELO, but he finally did it on September 11th, 2023, in this game, where he hit 1,001 ELO. And starting by the looks of this is going to be quite a long game, so let's go through it. His opponent was also 1,000 ELO before playing Big Tonka, so a true match, a true test. Let's see how he does in this game. So d4 is played by white. Tyler1's playing black, plays e6. Okay. I haven't seen that before. Nice. Bishop f4 is played by white. We're going to probably see some sort of London system. I have this odd feeling it's going to happen. And d6 is played. So it looks like black, I think Tyler1 might be playing some sort of hedgehog cow system for black. Although we haven't seen it for white yet, but it looks like he's kind of resorting to like his own custom opening. I'm suspicious, but let's see, because we've already seen this before. E3 is played completely natural. Knight e7, completely natural. Knight f3, completely natural. Knight d7, yeah. So looks like, and this is very common at this rating, if you find an opening that works, keep playing it, because you get better with the opening, you get more experience, you can win more games with the opening. And then there's a certain time where your opening doesn't work against a certain strength. That's when you know you need to switch it. But hey, if it's not broken and it keeps winning, keep using it. Completely fine with that. At the end of the day, about chess, it's not about perfection. It's about winning. That's all that matters. That is all that matters. Okay, so continuing on, we have c4. So white's gaining a lot of space here. Again, white's position is very nice. Knight g6 is played, targeting the very strong bishop. Bishop goes to g3. Tyler1 goes to bishop e7. Again, this looks a little bit sharper now, a little bit more focused than what we've seen at 600 ELO. Knight c3 and e5. So again, this is very nice. If white takes his pawn, black has 3 different ways to answer, and this kind of all sinks in a little bit. And you're challenging the center, and you're putting some pressure on white's d4 pawn. I'm liking this. This is very nice. So pawn takes. I probably would have taken with the knight, but you know what? At the same time, I don't mind a pawn take either. There's nothing truly bad here. Black, as long as black plays like c6, trying to stop the knight from going to d5 or d5, I think we're going to have an okay game for black here. Yeah, knight d5 is coming, kind of feeling up about it. And black just castled. Big Tonka just doesn't care. Take my bishop. I don't mind. I'm just going to try and develop and keep my king safe. So bishop leaves the board. Knight leaves the board with a queen coming to e7. Queen c2, completely natural. c6 now. A little bit slower on the timing. Still completely fine. I like c6. Very good. And white decides to castle. So if you're black and you see a castle in the queen side, this tells me that h4, h5, h6 is coming. Some sort of really big kingside attack is about to happen. And the problem is that with all the pieces in front of the pawns, it's going to be a little bit too slow for white to truly get to a kingside attack. So in the meantime, you have this open lane on c4, or sorry, on the c file, or half open, and this pawn's in the way. So start attacking this pawn. Play b5, put pressure on it, get rid of the pawn. Play something like b5, knight b6, bishop a6, all targeting this nice little weakness. Try and exploit that king. The black queen on e7 is very good because if there's ever a b3 move, this queen can slip in and now have a nice chat with the enemy king. So Tyler1's position very nice right now. Wow, he does it. He plays b5. Wow, this is 1,000 yellow Tyler1, and he's coming up with these moves already. Like, I don't even think 1,000s think about this type of move at all. So really goes to show that he's putting in the work. He's putting in so many games. Good lord, how many resources or books or videos he's watched by now. Again, would love to ask him myself, but we're just gonna have to kind of use our imagination here. So queen e4 is played. I understand it. You're targeting the c6 pawn. F5 looks really juicy, but targeting this pawn is actually pretty good too. I expect there's some sort of defense here. Good defense, Tyler1. Bishop b7. Okay, so we got some weird bishop d3 shenanigans. So let's say this knight decided, like, for I don't know what reason, to move this knight to the worst possible squares and legal squares only for black. You got a good checkmate from white with the classic queen x h7 mate style. Doesn't look like it's gonna work, but we'll see. Ooh, knight c5 is excellent. Attacking the queen, attacking the bishop. Very nice play from Tyler1. Queen f5 is played. Not much else to do. Probably your only move, I think. And ooh. Rook a d8. I like it. Don't get me wrong. That bishop on d3 is very annoying. And 9 out of 10 times, people would trade their knight for the bishop to get rid of it. But rather than trade, Tyler1 decides to develop a piece and put some pressure on that bishop and that rook. What a nice move. This is very different. Very different. So again, if you can find these kind of nice moves where you don't have to trade that bishop yet, but if they move the bishop, it's not a loss. You still have an excellent knight on c5 that can work with other pieces and come out with better targets. Develop. Apply more pressure. Get those rooks on. Pardon me. Get those rooks on open lanes, and you'll have a good time playing chess. So white ignores this completely and plays bishop h4, which is very dubious in a sense because, oh, I see. He's trying to bait the knight to take so that he can go checkmate. The problem is f6 is the only thing that stops both these scenarios, and then now it's not going to be so simple for white to be able to save this bishop much longer, let alone keep the queen in a very dangerous square. But Tyler1 first decides to take the bishop. Completely fine. Now there is no such thing. Actually, this is a blunder now because now there is no checkmate. So this is a huge blunder, which he noticed through tactics. He takes the bishop. Rook has to take back, and now he can take the bishop, which this all happened, by the way, in the actual game. So now Tyler1 is up a free piece. Actually, he's up 2 pieces now. Oh, sorry, up a piece. My bad. Can't do math. But this game is pretty much over. But let's see how this goes. G3. Beautiful. Queen c4. You know what? If I'm up a piece, let's get rid of your strongest piece of the game. And now we can try and get to the end game where my piece will beat everything. Queen c4. Excellent. Trade off the queens. Don't let white play a risky move and try and save the game. So queens are off the board. Rook d1. h5. Again, I like how white's playing. Try to be active. Attack all the necessary weaknesses as possible. Rook e7. Can't really defend that pawn, so... Well, we could go f6, but... So, pawns move there. Bishop a6 is played to protect the pawn on c4. Makes sense. Rook goes to a5 to attack the bishop, and black plays bishop or rook to b6, defending the bishop, knowing that the bishop went to b5, the pawn on a7 could fall, and then we might be seeing a possible draw game. But right now, this is not a draw. Black can win this quite easily. Just gotta make sure all the pieces are aligned first. So white plays king c2, king g7, king c3, king f6. Again, moving the kings out. Fine. f4, try to slow the movement of Tyler1's king. Tyler doesn't really care, just goes to king e6. Rook checks, king d6. Rook from behind, c5. Again, he's just trying to figure out how to get these pawns fast to win the game. So white decides to play rook to a8, not the best move. Rook d7 stops it entirely. Check, king c7, and back to rook to f8, targeting the f7 pawn, a very important pawn to get rid of if he can do so. Another one's not having it though, goes king to d6, rook to e8, king to d5, rook to e5, king to d6. So again, back and forth. White decides to push this pawn now. So what we gotta figure out for black is how we gotta get these pieces out. And maybe rook e7 is the best way to do it. Nope, instead he goes bishop to b5, which makes sense. He wants to get his bishop in the game, and once the bishop's in the game, white's going to be in a lot of trouble. Rook g5. Makes sense. Well, now you're going to see e5 because you have to in order to push everyone, push the king away. King goes to d5. Now this king's kind of scary because it can slither all the way to g2 and get rid of the pawn on h2. So discover check doesn't do anything except now preventing the king from passing the light side and keeping the game still alive. White plays rook x c5, gets rid of one of the pawns. Bishop a6 is played. Oh, that is a blunder though. Bishop a6 does fall the rook to c5. So that was rook to c6. So that was a big slip. King goes here. Rook takes, and now it is anybody's game. 5 pawns apiece. Anything can truly happen here. King to e4. Rook to a4. King to f3. Rook to c4. King to a2. And f5. Takes the pawn. White goes to rook to h4. Again, just try to protect that pawn. Hold on for dear life. But this is still kind of drawish, but I don't know. Let's see what happens. A lot of checks. Rook e3, king to d4 escapes. And ooh, trading off. Oh, this is where it gets to a race. Because take here, take here, take here, take here. Can't you just play this and then let these pawns win? I think so. It has to be done perfectly, though. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, wow. White decides not to take the rook, but instead leaves the white rook there. Isn't that like, damn, that's kind of sad. Just leaving your greatest asset just like that. I don't know. But this is chess, this is war, so Tyler1 takes the rook, pawn takes rook, f4 is played, king goes to e4, f3, and it's just going to be a simple accomplishment for Big Tonka to win this. So Big Tonka takes the win against Prasanth and takes the 1000 ELO level. Very good. So from September 13th to October 2nd, he was fluctuating his reign up and down a lot. He went on a 12-win 12 winning spree on October 7th, 2nd, sorry, and got to 1,207 ELLO. So he went from 1,000 September 11th, what I just mentioned here. And oh, sorry, I forgot. I mentioned on the September 13th, he actually went to 1,100 yellows. So he's progressing really fast. He's doing this in 2 days. He's playing 15 to 20, 25 rapid games. He's also just increasing his tactics. I'm sure there's other coaching advice or someone that's helping on the side, or maybe not. Maybe he's just grinding it away and he's just doing it his way. But forgot to mention that on September 13th, 2 days later, he hit 1,100 ELO in this game. Playing as the white pieces, it's 1103. Let's do it. Okay, so he's never played this before. He's played D3, knight of 6, E3. I think I know what's happening. G6 and 92. So I think this is something that I definitely want to point out a little bit. He seems to have found a system that works for him, and as you play more of the system, you're going to find the weaknesses and advantages of it. And each time you play it, it's going to get better or worse. So I think he's kind of found something now that he's just going to keep playing and then survive the early game, and then hopefully his middle game and end game take over. So this makes a lot of sense to me. I suspect his next few games are going to be similar to this, but then it's going to probably reach different middle games based on what his opponent does. So black goes for the bishop g7 fianchetto, very slow, very solid. Knight g3, castles, bishop e2, c6, castles. Okay, so this looks like it's all standard for white. At least that's what I'm assuming. Again, I'd have a hard time trying to even possibly criticize his opening. He's playing it. We're sticking to it. Let's go. d6, a little bit on the passive side for black, but still solid. And a4. Okay. 1100 ELO a4. Just don't want you to let the b5 pawn come to play later. Put a little bit pressure out there. I like it. I like it a lot. e5, b3. Okay, so that's a little bit new because the bishop b2 is probably coming up next. Oh, never mind. Knight d2 is coming out. Knight d7 and e4. So you can tell he's been getting some help. He's been playing this more, but again, some of the move orders are a little bit different, a little bit more crisp, and a little sharp. This is good. This is good to see for him, for his development. So queen c7. Black's playing pretty good too. No surprises for black so far either. And bishop b2 for Tyler1. d5 is played. Bishop a3. Hey, that's not a bad idea. Harass the rook. Rook f2 d8's been played. And then knight f3 is played. So definitely targeting certain areas. Easiest one to target is the e5 pawn. Okay, so black plays bishop to e8. Wow. I don't know if this is a 1100 player because that seems very different. Like, you don't move the bishop back unless you're playing f5, and even f5. I guess you just can't play knight h5 because your knight's already challenged by the knight on g3. So I guess you have no choice but to play knight e8, and then maybe you could play knight d6 and something like that, and just reduce the range of that queen, of that bishop on a3. So Big Tonka plays g5, going after that bishop on e6. Very good move. I like this a lot. h6, who cares? Get rid of that bishop. He does. Now there's a bit of pawn issues on the center. Not too bad, but a little disruption there. And look at this. Tyler1's targeting weakness, playing bishop to g4. Black responds with pawn takes. Again, I don't like this too much, although if white does take, he does get a discovery attack with knight f6, threatening the rook with the queen. So, wondering if Tyler sees that yet. Takes the pawn first. Good idea. Ooh, pawn takes. Or from by the knight. So again, Tyler1's position is looking excellent. All the knights are disarray for black and behind. His bishop's a little scared. Should I play should I stay here or not, or what do I do? Like, this bishop has to stay here, and you got like this bishop raining down. This queen's about to come in. You have f4 possibilities. The knight's covering all these squares. Bishop's doing a lot of work. Looking very synergistic for white. Knight f6 is a good move. Try and trade one of the traders, especially that e4. And if you can get rid of it right now, I can't take because the rook on e4 is going to take you. Yeah, so send a knight off to go get rid of that knight and then bring in more cavalry. Only way to be able to figure out. I wanted to see if Tyler1 can bring in like a rook on e1, isolate this pawn. But otherwise, the position's doing pretty well right now. So black's trying to get rid of all of white's attacking pieces. Completely makes sense. And completely makes sense that Tyler1 doesn't want to give up his attacking pieces, so just reroutes it to bishop b2. And now we have a legit threat on e5 once again. Rook to e8, bishop c4. Ooh, e4. So e4 is meant to try and cause problems by taking on d3, exposing the rook here. But by allowing the pawn push, again, and I mentioned this in the first game, when you make a move, you have to look at your surroundings and see if anything's changed. By pushing this pawn, you allowed the dark bishop to attack the knight for free. Does Tyler1 notice this? And he does. He picks up the free piece, and guess what? Black resigns. Again, is the resignation premature? Maybe a little bit. Again, it's still at this level. You might be able to fight back. But you know what? These two bishops are nasty. c4 is nasty. The f6 is nasty. Maybe black's like so disheartened that he gave up a piece for no reason. I'm going to resign, reset, play another game again. And you know what? That's also a good mentality too. So kudos to both players. And more importantly, for Tyler1 to get 1100 ELO. So now we know he got to 1100, and it took him this is probably one of the biggest times where he took quite a few days to get to 1200. He went from September 13th, 2023 to October 2nd. So he was playing the entire time, and to get to 1207 rating, he won his last 12 games in a row. 12 games in a row to get to here. Amazing. It takes a lot of mental fortitude to try and keep playing chess, and to not let him go on a huge winning streak like 12 games. So amazing. So let's see how he won his 1200 ELO game. So Tyler1 with the white pieces played d3. So again, we're going to be seeing that same system he's adopted. Again, if the system's working well and you're getting more experience with it, keep with it. No problem with that. So d3, d5, e3, e5. So again, very good moves now for black, controlling the center, getting your pawns out. All the good stuff you want to be doing at the 1100, 1200 level. Knight e2, knight c6, knight g3, knight f6, bishop e2, bishop e6, knight d2, bishop b4, and c4. Wow, c4 was played. This is almost kind of like Tyler1's style, where he sees a bishop attacking his knight. He knows there's no issues, but rather than playing c3, which is almost every player would do, he's like, I don't care about your bishop, and play c4, fighting for control of the center. This is a different Tyler1 that we've been seeing in the last, just even the last month or two. Different type of mindset for sure. So castles for black, completely natural. a3, very good move, trying to knock the bishop off the b4 square. And we have bishop c5. So not the best spot for black's bishop. Again, I'd rather see bishop d6 or e7. The reason why is because after bishop c5, you are allowing a possible b4 coming from white with tempo. And then after the bishop gets knocked away anyway, white can then respond with bishop b2. And now they've just gotten more space and got a bishop out the right square, all in the span of 2 moves. While in black's 2 moves, it's all about retreating the bishop. So you can see the difference there. So if you're playing these type of positions, find ways to try and gain some tempo. If you can gain more tempo on your opponent to get your pieces out quicker, means you have a better chance in attacking or defending your position. But instead, knight b3 was played. Very interesting. Again, don't mind this move whatsoever. It's attacking the bishop and trying to get more space in the center and knocking the bishop backwards. So I'm completely fine with this. Bishop d6 was played, natural. Bishop d2, again, Tyler1's increasing his development very well. a6, maybe attending b5 later, and castles. So we got king safety. We have all the main pieces developed, all the minor pieces. Only the queen needs to go. Queen c2 is probably the most natural, and this position is actually quite solid for white. Black, on the other hand, is actually playing pretty solid too. Wasted a couple of tempos now and then, so because of this, the position looks quite equal. So it's really anybody's game. h6, which I don't know if you need to play h6 right now. There's actually no piece literally on white's side that can play on g5. So again, you want to play a move with purpose. Now, maybe playing rook e6, maybe playing knight e7, attending c5 or c6. Those are ideas. Maybe even playing rook b8 to push the pawn to b5. Again, move with purpose. h6 doesn't have any moves of purpose. Maybe except giving the king an escape route, but right now, the king's perfectly fine. Nothing's attacking you. c5 was played. Very nice positional move by Tyler1. Bishop e7. f4. Oh man, controlling the center. So notice how he's starting to play these like f pawns, e pawns, d pawns in a way where it's actually attacking black or white center. This is very different than he was doing around even like the 800 ELO or 600 ELO range. Wasn't doing this at all. So he's definitely learning through experience. Maybe he's read a video or two or watched a video or two or saw something that says these are the times when to push your pawns. But it's very clear that this is an upgraded version of Tyler1, and I'm loving what I see. So pawn e takes f, f takes e, b6, again, challenging the pawn on c5 completely makes sense, although weakening the knight c6 square, so that might be a problem later. Pawn takes, and f5. Okay, so, again, not faulting anything. This is beautiful. Tyler1 was recognizing that I can push the pawn, even though the bishop's going to back away, I can gain space on my opponent. And space is something you kind of learn a little bit more like around the 15, 16, 100 level where you want to try and control, get space on your opponent and make them feel cramped up so that way they're very limited in what they do and how they move. So this is a good way of cramping up black here, especially with now that you push this, bishop activates, knight can come in here. There's an interesting theme going on right now with Tyler1's position. So bishop c8, which is actually not the worst move. I actually prefer this because if you play the d7, you're blocking the queen from defending on d5, and you're kind of blocking queen d6 sometimes. Black wants to do that with their queen. So I don't mind this. In fact, I actually would probably consider even rerouting the bishop, find another way to make it useful again. But Tyler1 doesn't allow that to happen. He is going straight for the attack. He's sending his knight to h5. He hopes to get some trade so that way there's one less defender on the king position, and he could come up with some sort of attack. So black plays correctly, bishop b7, again, rerouting the knight to a better square to make it useful. Tyler1 takes the knight. It's okay. I would have kept the tension a little bit, but I completely understand it. And then bishop takes, and now bishop h5. So I don't mind the move on bishop h5, but again, you gotta look at your surroundings, because black can take this b-pawn, and if white doesn't end this game soon, black is going to have an advantage. These two bishops are going to be very strong, eventually going to start pointing in their own way at the enemy king, and then it's going to be Tyler1 that's going to have a bit of trouble here. But we have queen d6, which is a good developing move. Queen g4, so again, trying to set up the good old classic bishop x h6 move. Again, this is not the most threatening move. Even if Tyler1 takes this pawn, it still can't be checkmate. So while queen 6 is a good idea, now you want to start playing knight e5. You really want to start harassing this pawn. Maybe push this pawn, get the bishop active. You're not in any danger immediately for against white. King h8 is still not bad of a move. Again, just kind of tucking the king away, moving away from fire, protect his pawn. I would have preferred knight e5 though. Knight e5 is a clear miss, and something that again at a higher level, this would knight e5 would have been played immediately. And now rook ae1 prevents knight e5 because, to be fair, white's doing an attack, and if knight e5 comes, I think Tyler1 would be ready to sack that rook just to continue on with the attack and not disrupt his queen from being on g4. So again, this is a very different Tyler1 we're seeing. He's developing all his pieces. He's being aggressive. He's trying to take the initiative. Well, he does have the initiative right now. The question is, can he win the game? So knight e5 does come a little too late, but it does arrive. And white goes to g3. Again, this is a safe spot for white and protects the pawn. And if this knight moves anywhere, bishop f4 is going to be very nasty. So knight suggestion is probably to go to knight to c4 to protect the queen, attack the bishop, and force a trade. Maybe in the trade, black might to equalize. But right now, white's a little too coordinated for now. Until this pawn gets pushed, there's going to be some problems for black eventually. So black finally activates his last piece, playing rook a d8. So now we finally got all the pieces developed. 22 moves in, not bad. Definitely could be worked on, but let's see what happens. Oh, yeah, we got the nasty pin. Bishop e4, attacking the queen, attacking a rook. Excellent move by Tyler1. Seeing those tactics kick in. Again, if you do 1,000 puzzle rushes, this is going to be something very easy to find. So queen b8 has to be retreated. Oh, this is becoming very nasty because now the rook's going off. And now I don't know if you can even take this bishop, because if you do, this knight then becomes hanging. Well, not hanging yet, but it's going to become very vulnerable soon. Knight d4 is played after rook x f8. And now knight f3. And now black has to take the knight, because you have to get that check and then move the queen out of the way. Otherwise, knight will fall, and then a piece is going to fall. So black, so I realized this, got to play. Actually, no, not even rook e8 is the best, because you can push a pawn here and attack this knight. No, you just want to trade this knight and then move the queen out of the way. Queen d6 is actually the worst move, because now the queen has no protection. Doesn't matter. Tyler1's taking that knight. Absolutely is. And he's getting the free piece. Queen c5 to check. Yeah, just to tickle white's king. White goes to h1. Perfectly safe. f6 is... I understand f6, and I can understand at this level f6 seems to be good, but you're giving up all these light square controls to black, and so that's not a good idea. And Tyler1 plays perfect move, rook e6, keeping the rook here, applying pressure, pawns protecting the rook, and now he's going to infiltrate with his queen very shortly. He might even double stack the rooks too to get rook e7, which is a winning moves. So queen c2, unfortunately, he's trying to play a d4 to try and coordinate a bishop queen attack. It is not going to work out at all, because the queen is defending the pawn of g2. Oh, there we go. So Tyler1, again, 1200, he understands rooks to the 7th are always heaven. That's a good way of remembering it. The bishop's being attacked, but it's not even about the bishop. It's really about this g7 square that might be delivered on if black does not stop. Rook g8 is a good stop. Bishop checks, so a little bit of a check first. I completely support that. And then rook to e8 is Tyler1 like Kasparov, because everyone at his level would have taken this bishop. He doesn't care about the bishop. He's trying to take this rook and then go for the mate, which is actually not mate because of queen c8. But he doesn't realize that, which is okay. The point is, he's trying to attack for the win. He's played to checkmate. This is beautiful. Now, technically, it's not the correct move to take the bishop, because there is the defense. But I admire the fact that he's going to try and win the game rather than just going the slower but more steady approach of just taking material. That shows me a winning attitude. And that's something very nice to see, very remarkable to see from myself. Watching Tyler1 playing like our game now, and seeing this type of, again, a little bit of beauty here. Really like it. So Queen E2 was the last ditch attempt to go after this rook, try and checkmate, but unfortunately it does fall to this rook, and Tyler1 does take it. And for that, resignation happens. Tyler1 secures 1207 with a really impressive game. This is very impressive. And we're not even at 13, 14, 15, 16, or 1700 yet. So, oh boy, I am ecstatic to see these next games. And then from here, Tyler1 just goes on a storm, which makes sense because it is Tyler1. He goes from October 2 to October 5. He goes up to 1300 ELO. And this is the person that he got to 1300 from. Let's take a look at this game real quick. Okay, we're going to be seeing this hedgehog or this type of, was it Mises opening system or the cow opening, but we're going to be seeing this quite often. Again, if it works, keep doing it. So D3, D6, E3, knight F6, knight E2, G6, knight D2, and bishop G7. So again, we're seeing some sort of King's Indian defense style or Perk style happening with black, very solid. And again, we're seeing the Tyler1 style. There's just nothing else to call it now. Knight G3, C6, and E4. So he does this all the time. He gets the two knights out, protects his pawn. You know, this is a kind of a cool opening. I might want to consider trying this in a tournament one day. That'd be quite interesting. Again, but usually at the higher level, we see that these type of moves like H5, H4 are quite strong against these maneuvers, but you never know. Maybe there's something we can do with this. Queen A5, a little bit different. Getting the queen out, putting pressure on the knight. Knight's pinned temporarily. Otherwise, white's still completely fine. Bishop B2, natural development. Castle for black, castle for white. Knight B D7, and knight B3 for white. Again, makes sense. You want to attack the queen and develop your bishop at the same time and gain tempo. All standard stuff for 1300s that should be completely within their grasp of knowledge and understanding. Knight to queen to E5, a little aggressive, but knowing Tyler1's style, he's probably going to play F4. He sees this, and he does play F4, and oh no, Queen E6. And I already see, I think I looked at this game. These are probably one of the few games I looked at earlier, and I already signaled that Knight D4 is actually game ending. Because if you play Knight to D4, this queen cannot go anywhere. Yeah, see, so I did analyze this. Even for my own self, I self-analyze. I guarantee you all the other games I haven't went through, this is probably the only game I have off the top of my head, but yes. See the self-analyze. This queen is trapped. Unfortunately, I don't think Tyler1 has figured that out. That's completely fine. To give him a bit of... Yeah, so for a bit of improvement, I'll tell you this. So if you see your opponent in a position where their queen's kind of blocked off, it's almost worth spending some time to figure out there's a way to go after that queen and win it. So he went from 937 to 923 in one move. So he spent 14 seconds on playing bishop G4, which is actually losing because there's a knight and queen cover. So I guess he just missed the knight covering G4. But if he spent more time when he's thinking, oh wait, this queen is a little uncomfortable, doesn't really have that many escape squares, is there a way I can take advantage of this? And if he spent even a minute, he could have found knight d4 and he could have won the game on the spot. So don't worry about saving up your time. If your opponent's also down on time too, take your time, because it's not about the quantity of your time, it's about the quality. If you could find the right move, you could end the game and honestly save 20 minutes and play another game to increase your ELOs. So try and find these moves. Try and find that if their queen or king looks a little bit uncomfortable or any piece looks uncomfortable, see if there's a way to exploit it. It is worth investing, because if you don't know, then at least you know, and now you can go back to your original plan. So bishop g4, unfortunately, that does fall. And then we have this f5. So f5, again, a little bit of a nice tactic here. Pawn takes, queen has to move out of the way, and then you can take up that knight. So queen to f6, which is not the greatest move. Oh boy. Like, black really likes keeping their queen near, like, threatening pieces. But right now, got to capture that knight. That is a top priority. Tyler1 does do this. And now we have gxf, which I think is the worst move possible here. Why would you open your king up? Oh my god, there's like bishop h6 tactics, knight f5 tactics, rook g3, rook f3, rook g3 tactics. The queen is pinned to bishop. You know, bishop g5 is also a good move to attack the queen later after you take with the pawn, with the knight. This is not a good position. This is the worst type of capture. Again, if you're 1300, don't do this. Don't leave your king exposed. And the problem is, he did this in 3 seconds. That's why black is going to lose this game. He is rushing at critical positions, and now he's really made his king not safe. So Tyler takes the pawn, 95, very good move. Again, that's a great move. Get some tempo, and more importantly, got to get rid of this knight. This knight's way too powerful. So queen retreats back, again, eyeing this lovely h6 square. King moves away. Very smart move. Again, I would have probably taken that knight, but I don't mind the king move away to make it a little bit more safe. Tyler1's taking that knight, that bishop anyway with the knight. Queen's taking, and you know what? Tyler1's looking. I'm just gonna go for the end game. Probably the wrong strategy here. Again, you had a very nice position. You just got to get your pieces in a little bit more. I would have probably kept the pressure on black. That's my style. But you know what? If you're confident in your end game and if you think you can win better at end games, do it. Whatever fits your bloat. That's the thing about chess. You pick the style that you want, the strategy you want to win the game. So king takes queen, bishop d2, natural developing move, rook g8, which that makes sense because you want to kind of tuck the king in and keep this rook active. The problem is black didn't realize that bishop played d2 with a purpose, because I think what's going to happen is, yes, white does play bishop c3. This is a very annoying pin, which means this knight is not really doing anything until it gets off the pin. Oh no, so the king goes to h8, or the problem is this f7 pawn is actually not being defended, and Tyler1 takes advantage of that. This is where his tactics are kicking in. He's like, oh, I don't need to take this knight right away. Let me pin it and just take the free pawn. Much better than taking the knight. This bishop is very powerful. This knight's also very good too, but there's no need to get rid of it yet. So bishop h3, excellent move by black, developing and trying to attack the g2 pawn. g3 has to be played to stop it. And then he goes back to bishop e6, which is not a bad idea to attack 2 pieces, but the problem is you're now losing another pawn, and you can't give up these pawns in endgames. So bishop is being defended, rook a by the rook that goes from a to e8, but again, you're losing more pawns, and Tyler1's just going to take those free pawns, and this is not good for our friend black. So black plays rook to e to f8, again, activating the rook to try and cause some problems with the enemy king. Tyler1 sees the bluff. He doesn't care. He's just going to take the free 3 pawns to win this game. And black plays rook f3. And now, finally, after Tyler1's done his main objective, taking all those pawns, now he gets rid of black's best piece. Now he gets rid of the knight on e5. That's very good understanding from Tyler1. It's great to see this. Pawn takes, knight c5. Now the knight's coming into play to cause some chaos. Bishop h3, again, setting up some sort of mainnet. What black needs to do is now play rook to f8, and then this is actually mate in 2. Tyler1's still playing. And you know what? What a great move. Knight d7 not only attacks this pawn, but actually prevents the actual move rook to f8 from allowing the possible checkmate in 2. I don't know if he saw this, but we're going to give him kudos to it. Unfortunately, rook e3 does fail because king f2 moves, and the rook can't go anywhere. It is stuck. What an excellent find by Tyler1. Again, knowing and looking at the position and seeing that, hey, this rook's a little bit cramped. Kind of like that queen situation we were talking about earlier. Let's go take it. The rook has to give up by taking a pawn. Completely understandable, but then again, it doesn't do anything because he can't even capture the pawn back. So he goes knight to g6, hoping to. I don't know what he's trying to do because he can't even go here. He can't go to rook f6 because the knight is covering. This knight is like so strong. What he should have done is maybe play rook g7, attack the knight with 2 pieces, but then Tyler1 is just going to play rook a8 and get out of all of this. So, no, this is a clean game. This is a mistake, though. He did just allow his knight to be captured. Not the best of moves. Nope. Okay, so good. Tyler1's now activating his rooks. He's got to be careful about protecting these pawns, though. All of them are very important. Great to see king c3. Oh, that's not a good move because now the rook can pin, which the rook does pin. Tyler1 sees this immediately and gets the free piece. And now it's all about promotion. Very nice technique by Tyler1 and stopping all the pawns. Oh, now he's going for a bit of trolling. I respect the trolling. And closes the game with double rook and queen. So this is Tyler1 at the 1300 level. And it's not even over yet. There's still more to see. It takes him 3 days to get to 1400 ELO. 1400. In 3 days, he plays like 72 games of chess. And it's 1400 ELO. So if that was Tyler1 at the 1300 ELO, man, I just can't wait to see what's going on here. So let's get into this. He's playing with the black pieces. So d4, e6, bishop f4, e6. Okay, so we're going to see the same thing. The knight, all the knights out, all the knights and pawns in the most awkward angle. Let's see how it works against white, who probably is going to play some sort of London system. Yeah, London system is being played by white playing e3. So knight d7, knight f3, knight b6, c3, knight. Okay, so a little bit of a different move order. Tyler1's not deploying the knight yet anywhere from. Not deploying the knight on g8 yet, not to e7 or f6 yet. Instead, goes with the quick bishop d7 move. Interesting. White's playing completely normal here. Again, d3, c3, all the main lovely moves of the London system. I'm saying London because I don't play London system ever. Knight to e7, okay. That's the standard move for Tyler1. And knight to g6. So, again, gains a bit of tempo, attacks the bishop. I'm assuming the bishop's going to retreat. That makes sense. And Tyler1 goes bishop to e7. Again, just developing pieces, controlling key squares. Very passive position, but very solid. And I can't blame him. He's playing too many games. He wants to try and hold off defense with his defenses until he gets his attack going. Queen to c2, very natural. So now white has the option of castling king or queen side. Again, everyone likes this kind of flexibility with the London system. And we have the quick f5. So maybe Tyler1 wanted to protect this knight, maybe not. Or maybe he just wanted to play f5 because it's control the e4 square. I don't know if it's the best move, but it does allow for a sneaky trap. If white decides to play e4, this is the trap. And now you can take a free piece. So maybe he's just trying to throw those curveballs. And maybe it's worked in the past. Anywho, white plays a4, h4, which is a very good move because there's 3 defenders and it's going to knock off the knight off its little nice perch on g6. So again, this is what happens when you play against people that are a little bit stronger. And I'm not saying that this person's stronger than Tyler1. I'm just saying when you get to the 1400 level, the moves start to get slowly more accurate that your opponent plays. So you have to keep it up too. Read some books, look at YouTube videos, get a coach, analyze your games, really try to understand why certain pieces are done these ways. Why h4s are actually good timings, why some people recognize that f5 might not be the greatest move. All this can be achieved and learned in due time, of course. So after c5, h5 gets played, knight goes back up to f8. Again, Unfortunate because the king cannot castle. And bishop h4. So attacking. So this is a bit of a different game. Tyler1's trying to play a little bit aggressive to attack the opening, but it's really black that's trying to take the initiative from. Sorry, it's white that's trying to take the initiative from black. Trying to trade pieces on white's terms. Very interesting. Let's see how Tyler1 deals with this. So he plays c4, which I don't know what this does. I think it's a pawn sack, though, because this pawn is only defended by one piece, and there's two attackers on it. So maybe he miscalculated, or maybe he's trying to move one of the pieces off to this direction. I'm not sure. Let's take a look. So we have knight to c4. That's natural. I would have done the same. And he takes the knight and plays it to bishop takes the e4. So maybe he just doesn't want the e4 push right away. So he wants to move this bishop temporarily and kind of slow it down. That's the only thing I can think of. d5's played. Yeah, bishop retreats to d3, completely normal. And we have g6 for black. Interesting. So I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to get that trait, and then he could get his knight, and then the knight can attack the bishop, and now his knight has a free outpost. Or he might even take with the h-pawn and get this rook aiming down at h1, and if the bishop takes on e7, then he can respond with rook h1, take, and then he's going to lose a queen, but he's going to be up 2 rooks and a bishop, so definitely a winning exchange for black. Possibility. That's not going to happen, though. Queen e7 goes first. Again, that's the correct move from white. And then I don't know if white realizes this, but taking away black's dark bishop in this position is very good because the dark bishop for black is a good bishop. So you always want to make sure to, if you can, get rid of your opponent's good pieces. Preferably trade your not so good pieces. Although in this case, both bishops are pretty good, but now white is the one with the good light bishop, and Tyler1 doesn't have that strong bishop because most of his pawns are blocking the bishop's way. So after queen takes, knight to e5. Again, excellent move. I probably... Actually, you know what? No, I like this move from white. Black responds with queen g5. Again, known to be very aggressive. Trying to take the pawn back or take g2. Very good ideas either way. White can respond with f4, although this will lead to this check. But again, the check's not too worrying. White's very comfortable. White can also ignore this entirely and just castle. Which might not be a bad idea because after the pawn takes, then you play the rook here, and now the queen is trapped. So if you castle, black takes the pawn, and you play rook g1. This can't take. You can't go here. You can't go here. You can't go here. So it is actually a trap. So pawn takes. Oh, this is nice. So Tyler1 recognizes he can play take g on g2, and he can take this rook before anything happens here. So white does castle, and now pawn takes. But here's the problem. If we have rook g1, this queen is not going anywhere. It's going to be a lost game for black. Luckily, our hero has dodged a bullet temporarily. The knight on e5 has taken the bishop d7. Absolutely terrible move. There's no need to take this bishop. There's no way to give up this really nice knight. Sure, you're getting rid of the bishop, and now you have your bishop, and maybe you have some queen attacks. But the king, if you look at the king's actually quite safe. It can move away from the queen checks as long as this pawn doesn't fall and these rooks are connected. Who knows? Maybe this is a better move, but I don't see it. Black takes the knight on d7, and now he plays rook g1, a little one move too late. Now, to be fair, if black goes here and this happens, I believe... No, that doesn't work because of the... queen can take the rook on f1. So white unfortunately missed his opportunity to try and trap the queen. Again, don't really expect a person at 1400 ELO to find that right away, but it takes time. We also noticed that white is moving very fast. It's only well, he's only moved 59 seconds. He's already moving quick. Again, if he spent more time on that previous move, he probably would have found that queen, and this game would have ended very soon. So rook decides to take on g6. This is completely losing. First of all, there's no real pin because if the pawn takes, rook takes on h8, but rook takes back. But the worst part is by taking here, you're leaving the rook on h1 vulnerable. And now he's going to pick up 2 rooks. Oh my god. What a huge mistake by white. And Tyler1 misses it. No. Just take the rook, man. Just take the rook. Even the queen blocks, just take that and then take here, and then the game is over. Oh, what a miss. Now, Tyler1 I still think is going to win this game, but that's a free rook. Can't miss those. It's okay though. Mistakes happen. So white's doing some desperation checks. Black goes to c7. I'd be a little bit careful here because if you get the queen to infiltrate and get the king forced over to the final last row, then this becomes checkmate. So Tyler1's got to be very careful. Unfortunately, he just rather than checking the king and try and get that position, he just trades off the rook, which is a terrible move because now the queen or rook are primed to try and win this game. Queen b4 absolutely does nothing here. Check here, check here, check here, and that is all she wrote. Ladies and gentlemen, Tyler1 has now hit 1400 year low in an almost perfect game of chess. Really like to see this. Again, white was actually not bad here and then just made some crucial mistakes. And guess what? That's normal in chess. So Tyler1 hits 1400 year low. And from October 8th to October 25th, this is when he hits 1500. Wow. So most chess players don't get to 1500. I think there's like a 1500 yellow is like the, I don't know, it's like the 66th percentile, I think, in the world. And then for competitive, it's like average competitive players 1500. But many of you that are going to be watching this video is not going to be 1500. That's amazing. So just to think of it, he's playing numerous games. He obviously has a bit of time, but he puts all that extra time into playing chess, probably learning some chess, probably using look at some videos now, look at other different concepts, doing tactics nonstop. What a time! 1500 ELO Tyler1. He hasn't even played for a year. Okay, let's see how this game goes. So he's going to get to 1449. White plays e4, Tyler1 plays e6, knight f3, and the classic d6 variation. I'm kidding. We've seen this too many times already. So white goes for this knight f3 c4, which is actually incorrect against this pawn. I don't know why he does this setup. So that's okay. Here's another thing too. Play with purpose. Don't just play your same opening nonstop on every single configuration. Again, now if you expect to win every single game. Now, if you're still stronger than your opponents, you can pretty much play anything and still win. But again, this doesn't make any sense against e6. But who am I to judge this? Knight e7, knight c3, knight d7, d4, knight g6, bishop d3. This is interesting. So White's already recognized that this is coming based on the configuration. So he decides to move the bishop already. Interesting move. And black just, who gives a crap? He just does this knight b6 move every time in these openings. So notice how Tyler1 changes it up a little bit, because usually the knight's left here and then he plays d5. Now he's decided to move the knight to g6. I wonder if there's a specific reason. If there is, I haven't figured it out yet. Bishop e3, complete natural. Bishop e7, queen d2, bishop d7. And white decides to go to 5 with the bishop and attack our D7 bishop. A little interesting. Not sure if it's worth it because black can just play C6 and now have a play D5 and play a very nice, close, solid game. But in Tyler1 fashion, the castle just happens. He doesn't care. He knows his knight is protecting the bishop. He just wants to develop. And white decides, you know what? Let's go back to D3. All right, this is a little silly. You don't waste 2 tempo like that for no reason, especially when you haven't castled yet. At minimum, if you're going to do a plan, stick to it. Don't keep changing your thought process. F6 is played, a little bit interesting. So I think he played F6 because he realized a knight could jump onto G5 or bishop to attack his dark square bishop. So he doesn't want any of that. It also helps for a potential E5 push. So very positional move. And E5 is played. Oh, this is a little surprising. So white has 1, 2 defenders, but black has 1, 2, 3 attackers. So maybe white miscalculated? Wow, Tyler1 doesn't care. He doesn't want the potential free pawn. He just wants to play F5 and start controlling space. And guess what? He's trying to play F4 to attack that bishop. And we know Tyler1 has been successful with these pawn pushes because he does them all the time. Does it with white or black. So again, this is why learning how to be aggressive and try and put pressure on your opponent is a very good thing to learn in chess. This is good stuff. Even if it makes a mistake, you'll learn from it. Now that white has seen that F6 is moved the way, he could go with his original plan and play bishop G5. And again, Tyler1 doesn't care. He just wants to get his pawns on very good squares. Bishop gets traded, queen takes for black, and knight G5. I get that knight G5 looks good, but it really doesn't do anything here. As H6 does knock it away, does weaken the knight a little bit, but there's no weakness on this knight right now because of the pawn on F5. Knight retreats to F3, and we have A5. Wow, this is the new Tyler1. I'm just going to start expanding on the queen side. Just limit your opportunities and positional moves. This is very cool to see. H3 is played for white. So again, white's delaying castling. I'm not sure why. White should decide where to castle. And now we have the classic knight to H4 move. You know, we've seen this many times from Tyler1. Try to strip the defender and get his queen on some very active squares. Knight F4 is played. Queen F4 is played. However, it's not the greatest move because this G5 looks very devastating. Queen has to retreat back. And now the knight can take, and now all these pawns are rolling down on the king side. So maybe white's gonna go defend on the queen side. But another thing too is that this queen is only also defending this pawn, which could be attacked later in the game. Oh my god, I didn't even see this. Completely missed it myself. But Tyler1 didn't miss it. He plays knight x G2 and forks both queen and the king. Wow. I actually missed this. I was tunnel visioning and looking at this area, and I completely missed the tactic. But guess what? I'm not Tyler1, obviously. Tyler1 finds a tactic on G2, and the game ends. Now, is this a little premature? Nah, it's not premature. You lose your queen early in the game, resign. You're not going to win this 99% of the time. And wow, this is how he goes with, gets into 1500 round ELO by storm with a knight queen fork. Ugh, dirty. So this is very great. And now October 25th, 2023, Tyler1 has hit 1500 ELO. But then he starts playing in November. He continues to play in December. He doesn't hit 1500. He doesn't hit 1600 at all. He's kind of stagnating. He's dropping down to 1400. Even some games he goes down to a little bit like high 1300. So this is when he starts playing a lot of bullet. So he starts playing a lot of bullet. I'm not going to show you the highlights of the bullets. Again, we're really focusing more on his rapid game. And he's playing bullet, and he goes from like 800 all the way up to 1500. So January he plays all bullet. He doesn't play any rapid games. And in February, he hits 1500 ELO bullet, which is amazing. But this is where near late February he starts to go back to rapid. You can see it in his profile. He goes back from to rapid, starts at 1390, plays a few games, then goes back to bullet. So again, he's on the bullet train right now. At 1500, he's gaining improved mouse speed. His power recognition is getting better because you need good power recognition in order to play bullet. His tactics are increasing because he keeps doing tactics every day, obsessively like a madman, which is great. Obsession is really great. It's the best way to make you better. And he keeps doing these things. And then we hit March. We hit March 1st, and he starts to really play rapid, specifically on March 3rd. March 3rd is the holy day for him, where he plays like 90% rapid games. So he's back into the grind. And on March 4th, he hits back 1500 ELO. So he lost this rate back in late October, November, December. December he didn't play as much, and then he just switched to bullet, where he just played throughout January, throughout February, and then March. He's like, you know what? Let's get back to rapid. Let's see if I can get my rate up. So we're seeing this new sense of determination from Tyler1, and in 4 days, from March 4th to March 8th, he hits 1600 ELO. Does it in 4 days. He truly gets back into it. Now, this is probably a very different version of Tyler1 than even 1500, because between 1500 and 1600, he's played probably 1,000 bullet games, maybe even more, probably even 2,000. He's done all these tactics. He's taken a mental break from the rapid rating, and now, knowing him, he is more determined than ever to get higher rating. So he starts really playing back on March 3rd, and then hits 1600 on. Oh man, I can't wait to do the video for 1800. So he hits 1600 in March 8th. Plays against a King 1-1 Chaz. He's playing against a Royalty, of course. And see how he does. The new 1600 Tyler1. And he's still playing the same opening, I bet. So D3, E5, E3, D5. Again, so now that you're playing against 1500s, they start to play really good openings. May not be perfect in their opening variations, but they're just like, they're not doing any of these shenanigans of, oh, I'm just gonna play like these small moves. No, they're gonna, if they could seize the center for free, they'll seize it for free. You'll see that right away. F6, interesting. I wouldn't play F6 right away personally. Sometimes you want to get your knight on F6, but maybe this is King's only particular style opening too. In which case, hey, kudos if it works and wins you games. We're playing the standard knight D2 E2 sub, which is called the cow opening, of course, and A6. So again, 4 moves from black, a little unusual, but maybe black's just kind of waiting to see what white does, and then we'll respond accordingly. Again, that is a strategy for black. Knight G3 and B5. So black is playing all pawns. This is okay. Tyler1's not carrying. He's moving the knights to their squares, which again, we don't know if this is the best square. Oh wow, C5. So this is the cow versus the 6 pawn opening from black. I've never seen this position before. Everything's weird. And wow, Tyler1 goes, you know what? I'm going to fight this head on. I'm not going to get steamrolled by pawns attacking my pieces. I'm just going to play C4 and see what happens. Get C4, see what happens. And white plays D4. So white's looking for black's looking for a closed game position. Bishop E2. Pawn takes. Pawn takes. So again, this is a very smart move for black, taking here, and now this D pawn is like can't be stopped. If white really does take the pawn, black can just take the pawn back, and now they have this really nice pawn chain, which can cause a lot of problems for white later. Bishop E7, good developing move, and Bishop F3 to counter developing move and try and get rid of a bishop and get the queen at a better spot. Best case scenario. Knight C6, and bishop h5. A little bit of a tickle on black's king. g6 is to be expected, and then the simple retreat on f3. I don't mind this too much. Again, I think the pawn on g6 could potentially be misplaced, but in this situation, I don't think it's misplaced at all. I think it covers this knight, all these knight possibilities, and fianchettoing the bishop on g7 is always a good idea for black. Queen c7, bishop d2, and a castle. So this looks like black's trying to cover the center and maybe eventually start pushing these pawns on white's position. So this is getting a lot more positional now. So Tyler gets rid of the knight with the bishop. I don't know about this because now that bishop is really unopposed. It is considered very powerful right now. There's nothing attacking this bishop for black. Now, what would have been an interesting move is if black did this, because then if black castles, it's checkmate. So maybe he could have taken it to c6, but then again, I understand too that if he does take here, then black has a very simple move. I don't know. Maybe, yeah. I guess it doesn't. It makes sense. You could take the pawn, but black already has the rook protected, has the knight protected, so knight to x to b7 could be a little more devastating. Black in the long run, even though he's up a pawn. Interesting. So again, always good to think creative in these type of positions. You never know. You might find that your creativity is just giving you the tactic to win the game. Bishop takes castle, queen b7. Now really focusing this g2 square. And white plays knight to a5. Very good move. I would not be able to take this pawn with the bishop because your queen is in danger. So you got to get the queen safety first. Again, black's a little bit stubborn here. It probably would have been better just to play like queen c7. But he really wants to try and get this to work and take this pawn. The problem is Tyler1's probably going to take that bishop, which he does. So that attack gets fails or gets spoiled. And now bishop a5, trying to get something happen in this game, trying to get the bishop out to attack a piece. Black responds with rook d7, and now we got a pawn take. Pawn take. And queen to g4. Again, checking. I don't know if it's the best check because f5 is coming. Apparently, oh sorry, there is no check, but I guess f5 doesn't come to play. Black looks for bishop d6, which is a bit more of supporting long range move. You can also tuck the bishop back to d7 to challenge that really annoying bishop on a5 that black will often see is fine annoying. So again, black's playing decent. This is a very good game so far for 1600. Rook e1. So again, Tyler1's continuing his development. And bishop e5. Very good spot for the knight. Again, f4 will knock it away. So it's not the best time to play the bishop here. But again, this bishop's powerful. It protects d4, protects f6. Really slow things down. And it can help build black build some really strong attack just by holding off everything with this bishop move. But again, we've noticed from time to time, Tyler1 loves playing the f4 pawns, the f5 pawns, loves playing stuff to challenge the center. And this is challenging. So it makes sense that Tyler1's going to play it. And Tyler1 gets challenged by another move. f5. So in this case, Tyler1 has to move the queen because the queen's more important than the bishop. Queen g5 is made. And black goes bishop to f6. Oh boy, is the queen trapped? I think so. How does white respond? Rook to e8. That's a good move. King to b7. And yes, Tyler1 has to give up the queen. Tyler1 lost his queen to a bishop f6 trap. It's really bad. Let's see what happens. So queen x f6 and rook a to e1. So Tyler1 has not given up. He could actually resign here, but he recognizes that, you know what, I'm not completely out of it. His king's in danger. I got a really nice bishop on a5. I got two rooks that are connected that they can't really be stopped. And I just gotta figure out how to get this knight on g3 in the game. So he's giving himself a chance. There's nothing wrong with this. And plus, if he wins the game, it's gonna be glorious. But right now, he's trying to win the game in a worse position against a 1500 player that he thinks he can beat because he's 1600, and understandably so. So let's see what happens. So h5 is played, which is not a bad move. Attacks the knight, and you want to potentially get the rook to move out of the way. I don't know how you can save this knight, or I guess you could just play knight here, but again, it gets a little tricky. So rook e6. Okay, attacks the queen. King to b6 check. King goes to a7. And rook goes back to normal. So most players would have kept this. And then do these type of scenarios and potentially win a game. Actually, you probably could have won the game like this. He did play his rook here. Let's see what happens. So rook goes back to e6. Knight to f6. Again, now black's playing more pieces. If he gets a knight here, it's going to be a rough time for white. Bishop checks. King to b7. Pawn takes. Rook to c8. Rook checks. Oh. King moves to a7, which is scary. And guess what? Tyler1 plays rook to f6, discover check, bishop's attacking the king, and he's going to get his queen back. Tyler1 doesn't leave without a queen, whether it's his or yours. That's a good one. But black will give up, take that piece, and now white is ahead. Wow. Well, now white could have went for the mating net by playing rook to e6. I don't know if he saw this, but he found a way to get his queen back, and he's not in a winning position. This is still going to be tough for white to win, but he definitely has momentum. That d3 pawn is scary, has to be stopped. So rook d3, rook d1, rook d7 happens. Knight to f1, king to c6, knight to e3. Ooh, knight to rook to e6, and knight to d5. Look at this. This is Tyler1 playing. He recognizes that, okay, opponent has two rooks, and they're attacking, they're very strong together, but if I can maneuver my knight to d5, my knights become stronger than the rook. And you don't want to trade a rook for a knight, but you might have to, because the knight on d5 controls everything. Look how strong this knight is. Prevents here, prevents here, prevents here, prevents here, prevents here, prevents here, prevents here. It's protecting everything. Nothing can attack this knight. There's no piece on the black square that can get rid of this knight unless it's a rook. And you don't want to trade a rook for a knight. Not necessarily. I think you might have to this game, because look how powerful this knight is. This knight's disrupting your ability to play rook to e7, to play battering ram. Wow. And he has to be careful, because let's say this rook goes here, and then maybe the king is a little bit more vulnerable. Maybe the king's on like b8 or b6 or something like that. You can do these type of checks to fork the king and rook, and then you can play for even more assured games. But this is quite impressive. He recognized positionally, let me get my knight on d5. It's going to take 3 moves to do it, and he did it. Tyler1. This is 1600 Tyler1. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So black, recognizing that's a really powerful knight, takes it. I think it was a little too soon. You could have taken it later, because now you've given white a really objective opportunity of now taking and attacking you. So they have to respond to this, and then, I don't know, anything can happen. So after pawn takes knight, rook goes to e3, which is a very good stylish move. Try and check, find a good move, or find anything here. Fortunately, king f2 is played. Again, not the greatest move because now king e2 happens and you can go after the a pawn. But note, black plays rook to e4. Not a good move again because king f3 is now getting closer to the center and protecting its ally pawns. I don't think black. I think black is losing focus now. So g3 was played. Not the best move from Tyler1 because now you're leaving two pawns vulnerable. Again, something he has to work on in his endgames, but for this purpose, it's not too bad. You're up quite a bit. So rook d4 is played. Again, now we see the real plan is going after this isolated pawn on d5 and trying to protect the business pawn on e3. Black takes, white takes. Oh no, you don't ever trade. Because if you trade like this, you can't win. You can't win with an extra pawn on white, and the white can just go in and infiltrate black squares. And see, that's the problem. The black king is just too slow to gobble all these pawns. Black just has white has to just go here and here, and then pushes this pawn up, and it's going to be checkmate. Tyler doesn't care. He just wants his piece out. And again, what beautiful play. White recognizes that, hey, I'm going to win this game. I'm just going to move the queen here, prevent this pawn from queening, and now I'm going to send these pawns up. And because of this, his opponent resigns. Wow. This is the best game from Tyler1 by far. He has played against a relatively good opponent. There's a couple of misses here and there, which you're going to find in any game. So again, try not to think of this from a perfectionist perspective, but the way Tyler1 played, especially maneuvering that knight so that way it can reach to d5, like this maneuver, that is what we do at higher level chess. We play these moves. We know instantly that they're very good, but Tyler1 actually played this move and thought about it. And again, this is just a small sample of his games. He's played over 4,500 chess games in the last, I don't even know, 7 months? 6, 7 months? So he's probably seen many of these positions by now and know what works and what doesn't work. Or at least is increasing his ability to interpret both is getting better right now. So this is a 1600 game. And for the next 10 days, he's playing at the 1600 ELO. And then on March the 18th, Tyler1 achieves 1705. First time ever. It's 1700 in rapid chess. And you know what this means, right? Not only has he hit 1700, and he's actually closing in on, I don't know what the online statistic is, but I know over the board 1800 is considered the top 1% of the world. If Tyler1 starts getting to 1800, and maybe even considers playing chess over the board at 1800, he could be in the top 1% of the world chess players. Tyler1. You know what? I put all my money on him. Like, there's definitely a couple of things he's doing. I'll talk about it at the end of the video that I'm seeing, but clearly his knowledge is getting better, his understanding is getting better, his tactics are getting better. He's not perfect, but again, no one is. But his positional understanding has increased dramatically ever since I saw his first game at 655. Okay, so he's going against Captain Mango. What a good way to play someone for 1705. So this is his legendary 1705 game. I have not seen this before. I have no idea what's going to happen, like all the rest of the games, except for that one game. I think I looked ahead of time. All these games I've never seen before played. So let's see what happens. 1705. Lol Tyler1. Let's do it. So we got d3. I believe my voice was dipped lower. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because of the tension I'm feeling of being able to see this game now. And knight f6 and e3. So he's done this throughout every ELO, throughout every game, and he's been winning with it. Why change now? e5, knight e2, d5. So again, this is now, we're in 1700 level. There's no nonsense. You're going to see the best openings played all the time. They might not play the opening best, but you will see the best openings played. That is for sure 100%. So knight f6, e5, d5, completely fine here. Knight g3, knight c6, knight d2, bishop to e6, and e4. So again, this is now, if you notice, Tyler1's kind of playing really accurate too. He's not going to move any other piece. He just wants to get this pawn going. Challenge the center. He has quite a bit of defense for defending that pawn. The black responds with bishop e6, ignoring this and continuing development. Completely fine. Bishop e2, Tyler1's developing as well. And quick castle from black. Quick castle from white. Very standard, nothing special here at the moment. And queen d7. So we can already tell that this is going to be Tyler1's probably hardest opponent, in the sense that every one of black's moves have been precise. It's been moved with a purpose. Something I would probably play this line exactly how black plays it if I saw this type of configuration. So there's zero weakness in black. And for white, you still got a bit of problems with developing your bishop on c1, and your queen's not really seeing any space, but otherwise seems to be a fine position for white, just a little bit on the passive side. So we're trying to unfix the passiveness with knight to b3. And we have h6. Again, a very good move, preventing bishop g5. You don't want to have to deal with any of that type of bishop moves right now. And then f4 has been played. So again, white feeling very comfortable is going to play f4. Try and smack around the center a little bit, trying to get your get pieces into the fray and cause some problems here. Rook to d8. Again, very strong moves from black, just continuing to develop. The problem is, it's not that strong of a move if your bishop can't escape. And this is what Tyler1 does. He knows when to push the pawn, he knows when to take. And I believe, so black took 15 seconds to go from rook a8 to rook a d8. So he completely missed his bishop because of f6 or f5. So I'm just giving you hope to everyone that's less than 1700 that's playing this video. 1700s make mistakes too. This is another one. And this is in a rapid game where you shouldn't be able to make a mistake like this. But it happens. Wow. So Tyler1 gets an early birthday present, but he still has to close this game out. So f5 is played. Black's trying to cause some problems by taking on the pawn. If white takes back, then the bishop can take on b3, and then he's completely safe. But the problem is, this pawn, when it captures the bishop, also threatens the queen. And that's why DXE does not work here. Tyler1 recognizes this. Takes the pawn on e6, takes the free bishop, attacks the queen for free, gains a bit of tempo. Why? Why would you play that move? This is a terrible move. Black should be taking with the queen. And then at least there's like some control in these squares. But you're taking with the pawn. You're creating a self-isolated pawn on the e file when there's already three e pawns there. They're all isolated. That's a bad move by Captain Mango, and I hope Tyler recognizes this. Now, I'm not saying this is like I understand the idea of why though, because he's trying to get his rook out to attack this rook, try to give black some chances. So again, if black is down a piece, they have to attack you. Otherwise, you're gonna win slowly with your extra piece. So black's gotta try something, but I don't think this is the way, my man. I don't think this is the way. So Tyler1 just takes the free pawn. And black plays bishop c5. Maybe to try to trade the queens, but the problem is the knight is attacking the bishop, and the bishop's not protected. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Tyler1 at 1700 year low. He's not missing that move. Like, he's maybe missed some tactics earlier, although this one was easy. But this is Tyler1 at 1700 ELO. He is not missing free pieces. There's no way, shape, or form he's doing this. So, black plays queen e7, which is a good move because you're attacking the knight and attacking with the rook on the queen. Then you could just dodge all this by moving the queen back to green. So, black is down 2 whole bishops. This is looking very good. Game continues. Knight b4. Again, harassing the knight. We know the knight can't take the knight because the rook will then take the queen. So black's trying to apply any pressure he could against white, with white being 2 pieces. But white's up 2 pieces. It's so strong. Tyler1 plays his bishop d2. Very solid. Attacking the knight. Again, Tyler1 just wants to trade pieces, because if he can trade everything down, you'll have 2 pieces and the rest of the pawns to play with. And I think that's winning any. So knight takes the so knight takes knight, and bishop takes knight. So again, protecting e4 square, kind of holding the center down. White's probably going to decide to try attack the king side, or maybe he's just going to try and develop more. We don't know what's going on in Tyler1's mind. I definitely don't want to try and enter Tyler1's mind. I don't think I can handle it. But from a chess perspective, he wants to start attacking now. He has all the free material to do it all the time. And his timer is really high, too. In 17 moves, he's only burned 48 seconds. So, very impressive. Rook d7, that makes sense. He's trying to play rook f to d8 to try and create some chances. I don't blame black whatsoever. And yet, a very simple a3 move. But a little bit deceiving because bishop b4 is coming. Now, black should be able to spot this from a mile away. Move the rook out of the way. Queen f3, c5, and rook ad1. Whole point of c5 is to play c4 and get bishop to take, and then black to take these free bishop. And this is a good tactic for black, and I think Tyler1 missed it. But his opponent didn't miss it. But guess what? It's actually not a tactic, because bishop d2 came into play, is attacking the queen for free. So if the pawn takes, then you can take the queen. And what do you have left? Nothing. This is a very good. This is probably the best move Tyler1's played in recognizing this position. He knows his bishop is being hanged. He knows he can't take as he's going to lose a bishop. But let's move the bishop on a square that if I check a higher value piece than a bishop, I can then get out of this. He does that. He plays bishop b4. This is the move of the game. For now, at least. Sure, he's won free pieces and stuff, but this is a brilliant move. Brilliant by Tyler1. Queen moves. And pawn takes. And the rook is defended by both the rook and the queen. So we have all the captures. All the rooks leave the board. Knight x e4 is taken. Again, last ditch effort, probably to play queen f2 and do something. No, that's it. Black played knight x e4, looked at the position, saw like possible checks, saw queen f3, saw the 2 beautiful bishops on b and c4, and resigned. A little anticlimactic, but black resigned. And because of this, Tyler1 has won the game and hit 1705 on March 18th, 2024. Wow. Wow. So, what do I want to say about all this? Again, this was a very long video. I'm very happy to have analyzed Tyler1's growth. It's clear to me that he built up his strength by repetition, by being obsessed in playing chess, learning different videos, playing tactics, playing different chess forms. And again, it's really his mind. Like, what makes him stand out against other chess players is his hustle, his determination, his obsessiveness to win and play competitive. And he puts in the hours, He puts in the work, but he puts in the hours of work to slowly increase. I still know players that play for thousands of games and don't go anywhere, but he actually analyzes his games. He has to. He hit because that's how he's improving. His tactics are learning all the different areas he's improving on, and he's putting all the time. And look at this. He's at 1705. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to hit 1800. In fact, I would be, I would even go one step further. Is that if he continues playing at this pace at these games, keeps continuing to learn and grow, he might even hit 2000 one day, maybe even 2100. Maybe he can hit the challenger of chess and hit 2200 ELO. But I'm very proud of him. Um, he's clearly just putting all that effort and work, and he's just built different. His mind is built different. He is different. He's an animal. He's obsessed, and he takes all of this and he makes him great. He's a great person, great human being, and he did it all by himself in a sense. Like it's his mind to make this all happen. So a lot of stuff he can now. Does he have a lot to work on in chess? Absolutely, but everybody does. And the fact that he got to where he is from what is it, July 7th to March 18th, where on July 20th he was at 198 ELO, and now 1705. What a monster! This is Tyler1, ladies and gentlemen. This is why I always followed him on League of Legends and just watch him play, because not only is he a great entertainer, very funny, he's got a lot more mature, smart guy, but I just like that grind, and that's what makes you successful. So Tyler1 is the latest success in our chess community. He is a chess player, no doubt about that. We hope to see him more stream chess, play more chess, and who knows, maybe he even will start creating his own specific chess videos. Maybe I'll even give him a lesson. If he ever sees this video one day, I will offer him a chess lesson. Actually, to be fair, I've been emailing him nonstop, trying to give him chess lessons to get him better. But he doesn't need to learn from me. He's Tyler1. He's doing it on his own, and he's doing a great job. But this is it. This is the video. Thank you for watching. If you want me to look at other streamers and maybe do some analysis of their chess games, if you found this to be entertaining or you found some sort of learning growth from it, by all means, please like and share, subscribe on the channel. Again, I produce content. I do a podcast. I do all sorts of things. Chess. I am a chess entrepreneur, so I really had fun analyzing this video. And again, just talking about Tyler1 and how great he is in getting in playing chess. So this is Vegereness. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you another day.